Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Shana Pomager. I am the Director of Visit Experience and File Evaluation, and I'm a two-time DU alumna, so I'm twice as excited that you're all joining us this evening. And we're here to talk about study abroad. And before we go into our study abroad session at the University of Denver, I want to talk that we are going to be offering closed captioning, which is available at the bottom of your screen, as well as we will be able to answer questions, most of our questions at the end of the session, and we'll be using the Q&A feature. So please feel free to put your questions in throughout the session, and then towards the end, we'll try to get all those answered all at once. And now I would like to introduce my friend and colleague, Alicia, who will be able to talk about study abroad at the University of Denver. Alicia.
Hi, thank you, Shana. As Shana said, we've been colleagues and friends for just shy of a couple of decades here. So I'm also a two-time graduate and alumni of University of Denver, and I'm really happy to be co-hosting with the Office of Admissions and happy to share information with you all about study abroad. It's my favorite subject. With that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to start the slideshow here. Okay. Study abroad at the University of Denver. A lot of people kind of have a general idea of what study abroad is. It does have some academic foundations to it. It's an academic experience where students do live abroad for a term. They're able to take coursework, they can conduct research. There's internship opportunities, service learning. All of these things can apply to their DU career. We managed term length programs that can range anywhere from semester to a full academic year, and we offer a handful of summer program options as well, as we'll talk about those in a little bit as well. So, did you know,
Alicia,
probably,
we don't see your slides.
you don't, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, let's see, let's try this again. Let's try again here. I think share screen gets a little bit complicated when you have two screens, so sorry about that. Okay. Okay, how about now?
Now we're good. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So I'll just go back. Here's again with the definition of study abroad. It's an academic experience. And of course, I just wanted to let you all know the academic foundations that um, kind of merged study abroad and brought it to light. So did you know, probably not, that 73% of undergraduate students study abroad at DU? Um, just to give you a kind of an example of what that looks like, during the pandemic, we had all of our junior class present on campus for the first time in decades. Most of our junior class goes abroad. So there was a huge crisis as to how we were gonna manage all of the students being on campus for that particular semester and quarter of school. So just to give you an idea of how many students go abroad, it really did cause a lot of chaos when we had most of our students are on campus instead of going abroad during the pandemic. We work with about 106 partners abroad, and most of our programs are completely aligned with a lot of the majors that we have here on campus. So study abroad. Oh, we're going back to that slide again. Let's go back this way. Okay, so why study abroad benefits students? So a lot of these things are kind of intuitive. So we know that it's a great way to introduce exciting new ways of seeing the world and knowing the world. It also gives students a chance to pursue special academic interests that they might not be able to do here on campus. So they can stay in homestays with different families from this countries and experience that culture firsthand. They can also participate in service learning opportunities, and they can do experiential learning. So we have a lot of programs where students rarely spend time in the classroom. A lot of their learning is outside in the country and immersing themselves with different partners and different organizations around their broad community. They can also participate in internships, and that kind of gives them that same feel that the experiential learning and the homestays and service learning gives you, where you can work in country with different programs and different businesses abroad. You can also develop your perspective as internationally. It gives you an international perspective through your field and your career path. So a lot of people will gain more knowledge that they can add to the careers that they're about to go in when they graduate. And it gives you an opportunity to explore another region, history, society, and then culture more in depth than you would from reading about it or learning about it in class. And it also is a great way to increase your language fluency. So all of these are kind of those intuitive things that we normally think about when we think about students going abroad, but it also gives us a chance for students to see themselves outside of these boundaries sometimes that are created by having one perspective in one country from one lens. So it kind of gives you a chance to break out of those barriers and see what life looks like for your identity outside of the US and in different cultures and in different communities abroad. So some of the students that we talk to when they get back, a lot of them say that they have a better understanding of their own culture, values, and biases. They get this increased self-confidence. They're navigating things by themselves on their own. They have skills that influence their career path, and it also gives them a lot more higher maturity level from what we've heard from students when they come back from studying abroad. So some myths about study abroad. So some people think study abroad is too expensive and I can't afford it. So one of the things I love about working here at DU is they do make study abroad a little less complicated than some universities that offer study abroad programs. So the program cost is all included as if you were going to school or attending DU for a quarter. So that makes it a little less challenging to come up with those funds. You can manage your cost of living depending on what program you want to go to or what country you want to live in. So it's all up to you how you want to manage that cost of living. And we also have funding opportunities that can help pad some of the things that might be added to your study abroad experience that you might not have here, some costs that you might not have here in the States when you're attending DU. So there's tons of ways that you can get abroad. And that cost is really subsidized by a lot of things that we offer to help you get abroad. Okay. So we also offer to offset some of those costs as well. We have a benefit that we've been offering for several years here at University of Denver, which helps us achieve such a really high level of participation among our students. So we have the Charrington Global Scholar benefit, and this benefit offsets the cost of your flight and your visa costs. So some of those visa costs can get up to anywhere close to $1,000. And of course, we all know that airfare is always constantly rising and changing. So the Charrington Global Scholar Benefit is a way for students to have those two costs offset. So it's really unique to DU's community as well. So it takes the burden off of paying for your flight and worrying about those visa costs. So another way that DU makes it really manageable for students to go abroad. Another myth about study abroad is that you don't speak another language, so study abroad may not be for you. Well, there are 13 possible languages of instruction, including English, in the hundreds of programs that we have to offer for students to travel to. So you can also go to countries that speak a different language and teach a different language, even if you haven't even learned a language or taken a language class. We have students that go to programs just to immerse themselves, just to start, diving into a different language and a different culture. So that is another myth that people kind of fall into, that you can't go abroad if you don't speak another language. And our final myth, you can't study abroad because it can't fit into your academic plan or it will delay your graduation. So this is also a big myth that students kind of feel like how are they gonna, complete all of their classes when they're abroad for a whole quarter of their journey. A lot of our programs are able to substitute some of those major credits that are needed, some of those minor credits that are needed. Some students can take some of their elective credits abroad, which is our most popular way that students brings credits back. Every quarter or every class that you take abroad, you can bring those credits back if we have a corresponding department at DU. So we have a lot of corresponding departments at DU, so most credits will come back as elective credits. So that's the path that students mostly take, but that doesn't mean that your major or minor credits or some of those Common Core credits can't be taken while you're abroad as well. So just sitting down, especially now before you enter into DU and you're about to make those course plans and those academic plans, this is a great time to start thinking about where does study abroad fit into your path and your journey? Which year does it make sense for you to go abroad? Another myth is that study abroad is way too dangerous. So we see these things on the news, we see a lot of things that are happening around the world, and that can get in our psyche and make us believe that the world isn't safe and there's really no reason why any of us should go abroad. We work with a company, International SOS, and they are constantly, fielding alerts and passing those alerts to different universities, making sure students are safe. And if things are dangerous, are equipped to get students out immediately. So we work with this company, and rarely have we had to have any incidents where students are airlifted out or things like that. So I think it's really great for students to go abroad and see some of those and break some of those things that the media portrays about different countries and different cultures, and see what that's like on the ground. And I think that myth can be broken by a lot of people traveling abroad and coming back with those stories and letting us know it's not as dangerous as it seems sometimes in the media. And another myth is that there's no value to studying abroad. Employers won't care that I studied abroad. Well, this is also a big myth that I hear a lot of students come in and saying, "Well, why should I go? What difference is it going to make in my career or in my life?" It can help with academics, personal and professional goals. Many of the skills obtained by studying abroad are skills employers are looking for for their employees. And study abroad students navigate a new culture every day. So, overcoming challenges and working with diverse groups of people are everyday occurrences and prepare you to be a stronger candidate when starting your career path. And not a lot of people have this type of experience on their resume. So this is something that sort of makes you stand out and gives you a little bit of an edge among a lot of candidates that are fighting for jobs right now. So really great thing to add to your resume. So what does studying abroad look like for DU students? So we have, like I mentioned before, we have several programs that you can choose from, and there's so many ways that students can go abroad. So we have our exchange programs, which means that we have a reciprocal relationship with different international universities. So students can go study there, and they send students to study here at University of Denver. So we have about 3 or 4 universities that we work with that offer that opportunity. We also have direct enroll programs, so students will enroll in those universities abroad as if they were a student attending that university as just an international student. So those programs are for students that are a little more independent and don't need a lot of direction, or kind of good at navigating things on their own. Direct enroll programs would have a lot less support than our provider programs, which is the next type of program students could study abroad through. Our provider programs are sort of programs that were created here in the United States, and they partnered with an international university. And so most of those programs are kind of satellite programs. So they have space in an international university where US students take classes there. They rarely are immersed in classrooms with international students, which is different than direct enroll programs. Most of these programs will have a lot um, of mostly American students with some international students in them, but that's the kind of the difference between the direct enroll and the provider programs. We also have a program where I don't think a lot of students take advantage of this, but I think it's a really great way to spend 2 years abroad if that's something that's in your capacity or something that you have a goal to do. It's a 5-year program, so you do 3 years of your undergrad at DU, and your last year you complete abroad, and then you spend one more year abroad, and then you have your undergrad degree and your master's degree, and you've spent 2 years abroad. So there's a lot that happens in the Global Master Scholars, and I don't think enough students take advantage of it. 2 years is a long time to be abroad, but at the end of the day, it gives you so many skills, so many connections, a lot of global connections, and like a lot of international perspective from being there for 2 years. So other considerations about going abroad, you can try to find internships on campus. A lot of faculty have internship opportunities. So talking to them, talking to your department to see what type of internships might be available through your degree or through your academic department. That's also a good way to go abroad. You can also do service learning, which is lots of time it's set up through different departments on campus. Some clubs may go abroad and do service learning things, and you can also do research abroad. So a lot of faculty like to partner with students, particularly undergrad students looking to go into their graduate program and do doctorates or do masters. A lot of faculty will have research opportunities, which is how I went abroad. So during my master's program, I had a research opportunity and I was able to study abroad for almost a year. So those are a little background about some of the ways that students can go abroad, some of the options that are available for you, and ways that you can start to think about what might work for you. And again, you will have so much information coming to you in the next few years about what study abroad looks like. And so just keep these kind of things in mind. This is kind of just an introduction to start thinking about what that's going to look like and where it's going to fit into your academic journey. So again, when to study abroad. Most students choose to study abroad in the fall quarter of their junior year. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, we had a ton of juniors still on campus during the pandemic, and it caused quite a stir. So most of our students are gone during their junior year for academic reasons. It's sort of the space where you've kind of completed a lot of your core classes, and so you have a lot of electives left. So your junior year is when you can fulfill all of those electives through study abroad. If you have like a major or a minor course that might fall into the possibilities of getting substituted by an abroad course, this is a great year to kind of play around with that and figure out if that can be a possibility. So your junior year just gives you a little bit more wiggle room than most of the other years to kind of study abroad and figure out where things kind of fit and stay and kind of make sense in your academic plan. So start talking to your professors and advisors about study abroad as soon as you can, as soon as you get on campus. Try to talk about where this fits in, what you're interested in. If you want to do, a global master's program, or if you want to study abroad for a year, what is that going to look like? Particularly in your freshman year, what classes do you need to take to set yourself up for a study abroad trip or experience that you're looking for? So really great time to start thinking about it in your freshman year. So when to study abroad again, students can go abroad for varying lengths of time, quarter, semester, full year, 2 years with a global master's program, or there are interterm options. So there are short-term programs that you can go abroad if a quarter is not something that works for your plan, or if you don't have the capacity to do that. There are short-term options. Those are more department focused. So again, partnering with faculty or someone in your department that you're majoring in. Some of those interterm programs are really great and a great way to kind of enhance some of your major and minor things that you're learning in your course plan. So all of these are great ways to go abroad, things to look into. But again, your freshman year is a great time to start thinking about what that looks like, what your timeline is, what you're interested in, what your capacity is. So good time to really start putting those pieces together. There are also courses that accompany some of our study abroad programs. So the 2501, and you'll know what this looks like. This probably looks foreign to you right now, but this is the course code for a required course for all students going abroad. So making space in your academic plan right now would be a really good thing. You take it a year before you go abroad, so you can take it either fall, winter, or spring. We don't have a summer option, so it's really important to know that you have to take it during the academic year, excluding summer. So it's a required course. And it's a great course to learn some of those skills that you need to be successful abroad. It gives you some of those cultural competencies that help you gain independence, increases your confidence, gives you some self-advocacy skills and resilience when things kind of turn out a little wonky and you're kind of trying to figure out how to navigate through some of those cultural uncomfortable moments. So this course kind of gives you a toolkit to figure out how to make the most out of your study abroad experience. 2502 is an optional study abroad follow-up course that students take while they're abroad, unless they opt into one of our independent study abroad options. But most students do not have to take this. This is an optional course. We recommend it just because it gives you the follow-up of all of the skills that you learned abroad in 2501. So coming back and just figuring out how to put the pieces together and make this something that you can talk about in your interviews or in your resume, cover letters. How can you include study abroad in your in your post study abroad experience? How do you make that work? 2503 is also a follow-up course. this course also gives you some of those skills to apply to your career. So this takes it further and gives you more career competencies that align with study abroad, and how do you put that into words for employers, and how do you make it beneficial for you? Okay, so that was all from me. And now I think we're going to take some questions. I think oops. All right, let's see. All right, so Annabelle is our wonderful student worker that's been looking at questions and fielding questions. Do we have any questions that we can answer, Annabelle?
Yeah, I think Shanna wanted us to go over this question from Sylvie, who asked, how many times can a student participate in study abroad? I know
Okay.
friends who have gone 3 times, but just what that looks like.
Yeah, and you're right. Annabelle's right. You can go abroad as much as you possibly can within your 4-year or 3-year journey at DU. The only drawback to that is once you use your Charrington Global benefit, you can only use that once. So any other study abroad decision that you make would just be out of pocket for your airfare and for your immigration visa, those things. But otherwise, you can study abroad as many times as you'd like.
And I think people would also like you to go into a little more detail on the Global Master's Scholars programs,
Okay.
maybe just how those 2 years abroad are broken up or what that could look like for different majors.
Yeah, so the Global Masters program, you do the 2 years at the same university. So you would, of course, spend your 3 years here at DU, and then you would enter into that university. We have a university in Lund, we have one in Australia, we have one in Glasgow. So that's in Scotland. So we have a few variations of where you can complete that study at, but you will go to the same university for the last 2 years of your program. The last year would be you completing your undergrad degree, and then that final year would be you completing a master's degree abroad. And I think it's really beneficial. I mean, again, gives you a chance to stay abroad for 2 years and really, really enhance those international perspectives and skills for employers. So I think it's a great program.
This question from Kenzie is probably going to bring up a good thing to talk about. She's asking about a specific program in Uganda that she's been looking at. So maybe you could talk on unaffiliated programs and what that could look like for students.
Sure. So unaffiliated, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was referring to when I spoke about the course 2502. So 2502, again, is a course that you take while you're abroad if you do one of those unaffiliated programs, which is the program you're talking about. So an unaffiliated program is it's not one of our provider programs or our partner programs. Some of them are partner programs, but some of the broad programs that they're offering, we do not offer through our portfolio. So those are the easier ones to go through. So say you see a program for one of our part provider programs, which you'll see 3 letters or some letters in front of a program that'll say like SIT Tanzania. And so you go onto SIT's website and you see a program in Panama, and you don't see that program listed in our DU portfolio, which is the platform where you look up all the programs. And if you don't see that program, that would be considered an unaffiliated program. But because we already work with this organization, it's a lot easier for us to approve that type of program. And if you do get approval to participate in this program, you wouldn't be eligible for the Charrington Global Scholars benefit. And you also have transferred in credits versus residential credits. So you would be transferring in your credits as if you went to another university. Now, unaffiliated programs, they have their benefits because some of these programs, even combined with airfare and tuition and a little bit of cost of living, can sometimes be a little less expensive than paying a quarter here at DU. So doing the math and taking some time now in your freshman year to do the math at some of these programs and see how much that, costs and compare costs, some of it might work out to your benefit. And especially if that program has a lot more, meaning or relevancy to your degree plan or your program or your research or whatever you're looking into.
I'm looking through questions here to see if any are good live.
Okay. I know we
It
only
looks
have
like
a
there's a
couple
lot of
minutes.
questions. Sorry.
So we only have a couple minutes, so
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we
Want to be
do.
mindful of time.
I think one more that people are definitely asking a little more information about is the Charrington Global Scholars, both like how much does that cover and what are the requirements to get that?
Oh, good question. So the amazing thing about this benefit is that you do nothing but be a great student and and complete all of the things that you set out to do. So one of the requirements, the eligibility requirements is to have a 3.0 GPA, and you also need 90 credits completed to be eligible. So those are the two major eligibility requirements. There are other eligibility requirements like you must be 18, you have to have great student conduct, so things like that. And those are pretty much the main ones that you need to pay attention to be eligible. So we'll run a check right before study abroad happens. So usually in March or May before the fall of our students that are going abroad. And if you have those eligibility requirements, then you automatically get it. You have a stipend amount. Those amounts are based on sort of the average cost of flights to whatever country you're going to. So they'll give you a stipend code and you book your flight through our travel partner. So it's all done in-house. We have all the instructions sent to you. You book your flight through them, and then for your immigration and visa costs, you send all of your receipts to us and we will reimburse you.
I think that
So,
might have been all of the big questions that we have in here.
well, good. That's perfect timing because we are at 6:30. And I think our time is coming to a close.
It's a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time, and
It really
I
is. Yeah.
think what is the like big picture that we really want families to know is that this experience is meant to integrate to the DU experience. It's not meant to add any time. We try to remove the major barriers like being able to get your classes essentially pre-approved before they leave, right? These classes are going to be transferring into DU, so that shouldn't add time. Any major really should be able to do it as well. We're not really limiting students by their major, so that was also a major roadblock. And the financial piece, where that airfare and visa costs can really be very beneficial with that Charrington Global Scholars benefits. So pretty awesome. I can't thank you ladies enough for your evening today. And if you have any additional questions, please let us know. We will be available to answer these questions. We also have sessions throughout the week. And if you want us to be able to direct your questions to the Study Abroad office, you can email me. I'm gonna go ahead and put my email address in. And I will get them to the right people. So thank you all for having a good one. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.